Well, and it is the Tile Happy Hour. Today is the day that we talk about anything and everything tile industry related. And I don't know where you are in the world, but we are glad you are here. You're looking at my face, not yet, but you will be looking at my face. And soon, my good friend John Tedesco, and we are both coming to you from our separate ends of this glorious country, and both with a little bit of different perspectives on the tile industry. Me having contractor background, and John having a sales background. And John, welcome.
Hey, Craig, how's it going today?
Man, it is going great. It's I feel like I'm a little rusty this morning. Things or whatever time it is, wherever you're watching, it's trying to get technology, all the new stuff that's coming out. Things have been updated, and you know this about me. We have my father-in-law lives up the street. He's 84 years old, and he swears that they changed technology just to spite him, which I don't think is the case, but I feel like that a little bit this morning.
Does he also happen to think that the shape of the earth is different than what you and I think? Kind of like
he does not think that, but right. I mean, we could have a whole separate podcast about some of the things he thinks, aliens, the Bible, all those things. It would probably get good views, John.
Probably would. Well, it's another happy hour, another day. Like you said, it's morning somewhere, it's afternoon somewhere, it's evening, but it is happy hour today. Absolutely. At the Tile Bar. So really welcome everybody. We do this every week. It's a show about tile, about stone, about designers, technical data, and about the world in general. So if you have any questions for us at any time that you see this, shoot us a message via social media. You see our handles up there. And if you have a specific question for us, a specific technical question for tile or stone or glass or LVT, send it to us. And we're just here to chat about, what's on our mind in the industry. How's your week going, Greg?
It's going good. It's going good. And you mentioned about the comments. I tell you, over the last 3 or 4 months, the comment section has kind of blown up. I don't know if you've been seeing it. I'm getting a lot of things. We're industry professionals, so we deal with this day in and day out in our work. I say that, our work. But we do the Tile Happy Hour because we love tile, we love the industry. And it's funny to see how the increased questions I've got from people outside of my orbit, whether they're in another country and they're confused about a stone sealer. I've seen that increase a lot. I love it. I hope that those continue to come in. And if I can't answer the question, between John and I, we'll figure it out and get back to you, because we know sometimes maybe you're in a hard place and you need something fixed. I try to be very responsive. So, thanks for bringing that up. Our Instagram handles are under our name there. You can find us on Instagram there. Join the Tile Nerd Army. Follow John at John Tedesco. Also, our other big platform is YouTube. Tile the World for me, and John is the Tile Channel. John's really big on LinkedIn. My brother-in-law says I'm big on LinkedIn, but I rarely check it. So all those different things, come find us. But today we've got a pretty I wouldn't say it's a controversial topic, but it is a topic that maybe a lot of people, especially designers and architects, don't think about until it's a problem, and that's lighting.
Yeah, you know what, Craig, this is a really interesting topic because it has big ramifications in our trade, but it's something that nobody in our trade buys, touches, installs, specifies, but it has impact on us, as opposed to, hey, Craig, what thin set do I use? Hey, John. All right.
John, is your house on fire?
The studio is on fire.
Hold on, we're gonna John, take care of that. We're gonna pause for a second. Okay, we're back, and John, studio, you confirmed you're not on fire, correct?
It was just a routine fire drill at the Tedesco studio at the Tile Channel, and all is good here. So welcome.
All is good. So speaking of adding light, fire has light.
This is
And
true.
John, I like the way you brought that intro in, is the lighting in a certain area that's going to be tiled. And it could be a simple backsplash, or it could be a commercial building. We have no control over. And as a contractor, I remember looking at drawings and seeing, wall wash lighting, and getting concerned. And we would always want to go in and set those lighting before we tiled, just because the angle of the light, the intensity of the light changes how your tile looks.
Well, let's break this down a little. So what
Sure.
we're trying to say is that in the industry, there is a guideline about lighting. And what we mean by lighting is where the lighting is positioned in a particular room, residential, commercial, doesn't matter. And why is it important? Well, the lighting designer may pick the right lumens and all that, right fixture and all that good stuff. But where it's actually specified to be installed can impact other parts of the room. A painting on the wall, right? You have a painting on the wall that's worth a lot of money. You bring a lighting person in, and they're putting it a certain distance at a certain angle. When it comes to tile, they're not really thinking tile. And often, and I think of commercial spaces more than residential.
Yeah.
People are putting lighting, those ugly like fluorescents up against the wall. And
where did that start, John? You've been in the design industry in a while, and I know there was a certain point in time where commercial bathrooms had a bank of fluorescent lights, whether they were 2x2 or 2x4, and they were all across the ceiling.
Yeah, it started in hell, I think, and it really stayed a little. It was just easy and less. And if you're a lighting designer, and you're not thinking about how it impacts other parts of the room. You just wanted like perimeter lighting. Okay, great. But what happens is, and I used the example, Craig, of you have $1 million piece of artwork, like I know you do at the
in our
household,
my studio.
You're going to be really specific on that light fixture, where it's going to be positioned, how far away, all that good stuff. In a commercial application, let's say they're just going to put a bank of lights up at the ceiling against the wall, and it works fine for lighting, but it can cause a problem with, if it was a piece of art, you can visualize light coming down the wall, hitting the top of the frame and creating a shadow. So what would you do? What would you do in that point, Craig, if you had that issue?
Then if it were me, and if it was a nice piece of art, I would front light the actual picture, and it creates an ambiance.
Right. Correct answer, Craig. But Craig and I, since we're, crazy about tile, we think our tile is artwork. So you should treat our tile the same way, and pull the lighting away from the wall. Not only do Craig and I feel that you should do that, there is an industry guideline that says you should do that. And it's not actual specification, right, Craig?
Specifications, we rely on architects and engineers to come up with those. The TCNA or the NTCA or ANSI, any of those things, they're going to be recommendations. They're going to give you guidelines about, okay, to get the best look and performance out of the tile system, follow these book of ideas. And I've got a whole stack of books that you can't see off screen that goes through that. And they do discuss, and this is the hot term, the key, the hashtag wall wash lighting as a problem area, as an area to think about when you're designing your tile system.
Right. Now you use the word problem. So it's not just an aesthetic thing, meaning somebody could argue the lighting against the wall or 6 inches away from the wall. I'm talking, from the ceiling, or 12 inches makes the room look better, brighter. But where it enters our world is when a client, an end user, flicks the light on after an installation, and they are upset. They think the tile was installed incorrectly. They think the tile was installed, up and down, in and out in the speak. Right. And why do they say that, Craig? What do they see?
Well, what they're seeing is the tile imperfections. Tile is not perfectly square, perfectly flat. Right. Where this wall wash lighting looks great is on a really flat substrate, a flat wall. But when you have a grid, and that's really what you're creating with your tile, you've got inconsistencies in that are perfectly standard and fine and acceptable. But when you light them differently, you're creating a shadow and light game or dance that makes the inconsistencies grow and exponentially look worse.
Right. So for those who don't know Craig's big words, it exaggerates it. So if you have two tiles on the wall and it's a 64th of an inch, not flat, the top tile is sticking out, a 64th of an inch. In normal lighting, you don't see that. In the tile world, it's absolutely acceptable to have variations in touch. Like you can touch a tile wall, you're not expecting to touch a painted wall. It's different. So there is some in and out slightly that's acceptable and absolutely necessary, because tile is a fired product, like Craig said, and it just can't be. And you're putting glue by hand with a trowel. It's not done with a machine. So there's some variations. But what happens is that if you have lighting in the wrong place, shining on the wall originating from the wrong spot being up against the wall in the corner, it takes it and it exaggerates the shadow, exaggerates the imperfection. So instead of like a little shadow, you're going to have a shadow that's 5 times or X times.
But what I'd like to do is talk you through a contractor's point of view. But I think before we do that, you kind of brought some real world examples to the table. You want to take a look at those?
Yeah. So I'm in
set us up.
So I'm in New York City, terrible weather, nice and cold, but I'm in Penn Station, getting off the railroad, heading to the tile bar office. And I see this wall. It's kind of a dividing wall. It's curved. It's maybe 10 feet long. Do we have a picture of that? Okay. Yeah. So if you see that white wall, that tile is pretty much like a 1 inch by 6 inch porcelain glazed tile, stacked, but vertically. And they did that
pretty basic standard tile.
It's basic standard tile. It's okay. I mean, I didn't provide that tile, so I'm going to really critique the tile.
It is really bad tile. They should have gotten the basic series from Tile Bar at tilebar.com.
It's funny because one of my firms I just learned was the main designer of Penn Station, and I don't know if they picked this tile, but they didn't pick it from me. But anyway, we're not going to blame the tile because it's not a tile problem. So I'm going to paint a picture on that wall. So that's like, say it's 10 feet long, and there's a curve, and that curve is, the radii is a couple of feet, and there's 2 people standing there. And from a distance, it looks great. But what's really cool, this is a perfect example. The left side where those people are standing, there's no lighting right immediately above it. But the other side of it, to the right, the perfect example of what not to do with lighting. And you'll see the end result. And I guarantee if this was not Penn Station, if this was a restaurant or somebody's house, they'd be complaining and not wanting to pay the tile install. That's why we want to bring this to everyone's attention, because it's not the tile's fault. It's not the tile installer's fault. It is whoever designed the lighting, their fault. And I think we have a picture of it, right?
Yeah. So just to clarify, so looking at that picture where those people are walking, that's, I guess, headed to the cars or something. That's where you see the light coming from the ceiling, right?
No. So the left side there, the light's further away.
Yes. It's kind of above those people that are walking.
Right. On the other side to the right, where there's no people, that we have
to the right. And so we got a picture here.
Yeah. So the left side there with that little guardrail is where those people were standing. It's just a different angle. Table. Yeah, so you see the table. It's actually from the other direction.
And you can see the reflection of the light. That's probably 6, 8, 10 feet away from the wall.
Right. So the lighting on that side where those people were standing wasn't really designed to light that wall. It was just designed to light Penn Station, and that's fine. The light on the right was apparently designed to light up the wall, which is a huge error because it looks like 2 different tiles. Looks like a good installer did the left side and a bad installer user. It's the same freaking box of tile. It's the same grout.
They're probably installed the same day.
That's not that. There's a few hundred square feet of material.
Yeah. I guarantee you the same installer installed the thing the same time. But you're right. Because of the way the lighting is, it looks like 2 completely different installations.
And I welcome everybody, because a lot of people who watch this show do go through Penn Station, and that wall will never be the same to you, because now you'll remember this podcast.
Hey, I love that. I love that. That wall will never be the same to you. I want you to take a picture of yourself up against that wall in Penn Station and tag John and I and say, and just say, you're right, John. So if you're in Penn Station, I'm calling everybody out there, whether you're visiting, you live in New York, I want you to stop by that wall, or maybe even a similar wall in where you're from, and take a picture in front of the wall and say they should have thought about the lighting. John,
let's take it a step further. Do you ever see those memes with a guy standing in New York City with a cardboard sign, and he'll just hold up a sign and it says something random like, don't talk on speakerphone in the supermarket, or like he comes up with these random thoughts people said. So I'm going to create a sign that says lighting matters. Lighting matters.
So hashtag lighting matters,
right.
And include John and I. Well, John, that is a great real world experience, and I challenge everybody that's listening today. And you tile professionals, you know it because you see it every time you go where your spouse is tired of hearing you talk about it. So send us those pictures of where lighting has made a difference, and we want to see them. And John, before we end the show today, I kind of want to talk through the contractor's point of view and what happens and how this happens.
Well, okay. So what about the contractor that's being blamed for this? Is it his responsibility? Well, fortunately, the fix is relatively simple. Like, if it really was a bad installation, the guy used the wrong glue, the substrate was effed up, and the guy was just not experienced.
Right.
Then the solution is ripping out the wall. Yeah. Right. Here, the solution is, now it's government Penn Station. Nobody's bothered by this except me and you, Craig. So it's never going to change.
Every tile professional they're the only ones that are bothered. Yes.
Exactly. So, but if it was an issue where the customer was holding back money, I mean, that's a real big deal. And the contractor, how much obligation does a contractor have to bring it to their attention beforehand? Now, of course, if they're working on if they're stepping up to the job and the substrate is crappy and they didn't put it up, their responsibility is to say it then, because they can't later on saying, oh, the substrate sucked, that's why the tile looks bad. Do they have an obligation to bring it up ahead of time, or should they bring it up ahead of time?
Yeah, well, every area is different and every specification is different. I would just caution you as an installer, if you're watching today, when you see, number one, don't ignore the lighting layout. Take a look at it before you price the job. Right. And when you're negotiating the job, if you have wall wash lighting, require the contractor to put the lighting in before you install the tile. Because, John, let me talk about the typical contractor, the typical install in a commercial building. I can't tell you how many times this has happened. The installer walks into the bathroom, which is in the core of the building, which is this the farthest away from any natural light or windows. And there's very little light in those areas. Sometimes they're like a dungeon. And if they don't push the contractor to put lighting in the area where they're going to work that represents the lighting that they're going to have their job punched out on, what they do is they go get some stand lights, the lights on a tripod, and they put them and they focus them on the wall. Well, what that does is that creates a false sense of security that when I get my tile job done and the lighting that's facing the wall, it looks great. It's going to look great when we turn that off. And then a month down the road, the power gets turned on and the lights get turned on. I've got a show and tell too. So I'm actually speaking in Memphis on this subject. So if you're in Memphis on April 3rd at the Build It conference, I'll be speaking there to whoever's there. And this is one of the show and tells that I'm bringing with me because I want to address this subject. The front light, these two installations that you see on your screen right now are the same installation. It is the same tile lit with two different, the same light. So the same light, same tile, everything. But the front light is as if I was installing the tile. I had my tile set with the lights behind me, and I go in there and I set it. Okay, I'm finished. I leave, I pack up my stuff, I go to the next job. A month later, the architect and engineer and GC are doing their punch list, and they have the permanent lighting on, and that's what they had designed, was a wall wash light. So one installation looks amazing. The other installation has this aesthetic feel to it that this tile, it doesn't represent the tile well.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay you for that, Craig.
You wouldn't pay me for that?
No, well, you'd have to show me why it's not your fault. But initially, I'd be like, "This sucks. This looks terrible."
Yes, and there are a couple of fixes. So if you got down that road and now you're in the area where the wall wash lighting is bad, and now you check your spec of your tile. So there's a spec for lippage. It's 3/32 of an inch. If your tile to tile is less than 3/32 of an inch, you're within industry standards for this wall, unless it was specified to a different standard through your actual documents.
Right.
So your suggestion is going to be, I'm within spec. If you want to make this look better, you need to move that light. Right. And what is, and I haven't gotten this far in my demonstration, but what's interesting is you can take that light off the wall and move it out 8 to 10 inches, and it completely changes the look.
Amazing. It really is amazing. I've been in many commercial spaces, particularly, commercial bathrooms, and you have that one wall that's wall washed and it looks terrible. And us being the tile nerds that we are, we're looking at the tile, we're looking at the grout, and the first thing you say is, that looks terrible. Why? Because of the wall. And then you say, okay, I bet if I turn my head to the right, I'm going to look at the return wall. There's no lighting there, and it looks great. And it always looks great. So, and that tile that you showed the picture of, it's not a tile that typically has a warpage issue, because it's not really like a 48-inch long or a 60-inch, wood-looking plank. Very rarely do you see.
It's a ceramic. It's a glazed ceramic tile. It's relatively flat. I installed it, which means that it's probably not perfect, because I didn't spend my career on my knees. I spent my career managing those guys. But yet, just seeing the same wall with different lighting, how much of a difference that makes. I hope that this subject has helped you out. Whether you're a contractor, you know what to look for in the drawings and the stuff. And if you're a designer, that you're thinking about that when you're putting the two together.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're the end user, now to what the reasons of this problem is, and maybe if you haven't started the project yet, design it properly. Ask your designer, ask the lighting designer. But if you're a contractor, in this scenario, I'm so passionate about protecting the contractor, because I know the contractor is going to get blamed. The tile supplier may get blamed also, but I really think first the tile installer gets blamed, and then he has to decide if he's going to then blame me, right?
Well, tell me what responsibility your position holds as an A&D rep, as the representing the material. What responsibility do you carry into the design process? Well, what questions are good to ask?
Well, I speak to architects and designers, in New York, and talk, help them find the right product for, the right price for the project. And never is there a conversation about lighting. And, and I'm wondering if the people, and this is a good question for me, when I'm speaking to them, maybe I should bring up the lighting. I just have the sense that they're not the ones designing the lighting. The designer I'm talking about has fabric out and has finished materials out, and lighting is really not finished.
Maybe it's a question to pose to them, to ask.
Correct. Yeah,
the other designer.
That's what I'm kind of. Maybe I should throw it out there to just avoid the grief, because what the sad thing is, somebody's going to see an end installation, and not be happy with it. Yeah. And maybe they won't complain, but it still looks crappy
but they're still not happy with it, and that's the key. You want them to be happy with it. You want them to have a good experience, and it's all about expectations. And John, if you need it, I'll let you borrow those pictures.
That's a good thing. Yeah. So the moral of the story is, now you know about wall washing. You know that the industry guidelines is to bring it off the wall 8, 10, 12 inches, or whatever works.
Recommendations. I'm not sure it's guidelines, but yes.
Yeah, recommendations. That's a good one, Craig. And be aware of it. So try to prevent it, like we just talked about. Maybe I'll bring it up to my clients and say, hey, has anyone talked about the lighting here? And they could just throw it back to the lighting designer in their firm if they're doing the lighting design, and just kind of be preventive, right? Try to troubleshoot later if it's a problem, but try to not have the problem happen. So that's really cool. And what was really interesting is even the coloring looks so different in that picture. That's a whole nother topic, right? Is that
the intensity of the light, the color of the light, all those things matter. And hey, and if you got questions about that, stumble into a tile bar showroom. I've heard that you have different temperatures of lightings at your design desks.
Yeah, so at the workstations at the tile bar showrooms, we do have a little remote control. We could change the kelvins that you're working under. And I typically, when you don't have that tool, I found myself in the last decades of designing thousands of spaces with tile, is I always just bring product selections to the door, to the front door, let's say,
the window,
because the lighting, I don't know what lighting you're going to put in your home, but I do, the sunlight at your house is the same as the sunlight at my house. So that's the only thing I know is constant. So I always check at the door because if people may have lighting, they may change the lighting, or they may have it to be, they may have the opportunity to adjust it. But I always go to the sunlight because that probably not going to change. So that's like a constant. That's like my starting point. That's baseline, right? Talking about a medical term, they do EKG. Like, this is your baseline. We know where you are. So I always do that with all tile selections. Try to check it. But it's important to, if you're a designer, to think about it, right, Craig? If you're a contractor,
absolutely.
But that's really where I feel the pain is the contractor. Oftentimes
they get blamed.
They get blamed for a lot, and some tile is tricky, right? Glass and stone. And
sometimes it is their fault, but in this occasion, I don't think it is. And John, I think what a great topic, and what I love your call to action there is everybody that's heard this, send us a picture in front of an installation, hashtag lighting matters, because lighting does matter for your tile system.
And we'll put whoever does that, we'll put your name in a hat, we'll draw, and we'll send you a little.
We'll send you maybe some tile nerd swag, something. I've got a whole closet full of that. That's a great idea. Great idea. Well, John,
fun.
great conversation, great topic. I'm
keep
excited
the conversation
about the
going.
Yeah, keep the conversation going. The comment section, blow the comment section up, and follow us on social media. Look for us at all your trade events that are coming up, and we hope to hear from you and see you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to have another call to action. You get a message once in a while, like, do you know somebody who needs to hear this? So, like, take this recording, share it, repost it, send it to your friend, send it to your tile guy, your designer, your building owner, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Someone needs to hear this message.
Start the conversation, make another sale. How about that?
Exactly. Lighting matters. So, Tile Happy Hour every week. Love to see that you guys are watching. Love to see you guys are sending in questions. Craig and I here every week. And we'll see you next week on the next topic, which is really exciting. So this is John Tedisco. I'd like to wish you peace, health, and happiness.
And let's keep learning together and tile the world.